So we have new parts for the John Deere. To finish this John Deere up, I did need a new throttle cable, which I got a aftermarket part. We're going to put that on today. It also needs a primer bulb, and this is the OEM part from Briggs & Stratton to replace this primer bulb, which is kind of sticking. As you can see, it's a little slow coming out. So we're going to replace that, and we're going to put a brand new air filter in here, which never looked like it ever been replaced. So this throttle cable is a aftermarket. It certainly looks the same, almost. If you look at the ends here, pretty easy to put on. Just a matter of taking this screw out here and just thread it. Make sure it's tied down good and connect it up to the throttle linkage. So let's get started on the throttle cable and get the primer bulb and the air filter in. So the new throttle cable is in place for the John Deere. This old one here, as you can see, this was all taped up and cracked and wasn't retracting. And now we're going to replace the primer bulb. Part number is 694 and they're 395. And a new air filter as well. And that's going to fix everything with this John Deere. As you can see with this primer bulb, just is not hardly retracting, very slow. So when you get like that, that's when it's time to replace them. And this air filter was just horrible in here. I cleaned it off, but it's still probably the original. So we have to take this cover off in here. Got a few screws to take out, and then we can replace this primer bulb. And these screws are 5/16 in size. There's 3 of these. We'll get these out, and then we'll have this cover off. And there we have it. It's off. Got to be careful in your ventilation pipe here, and we definitely need to clean this off. This has probably never been taken off. Also need to be careful about this gasket. So here's the primer bulb. Let's get this cleaned off and show you how to replace this. So once you get this cleaned out, you can see there's a retaining ring. There was so much dirt there you couldn't even see it. On both sides, it's a matter of pressing that retaining ring out, and this is what the new one will look like. You just press back in the bulb with the retaining ring. And I would stay with the original equipment part number for these primer bulbs. They work much better, and they all have easy to follow instructions. And what you do is you take your screwdriver and you press this end down, and then you can slowly work this primer button out on each side. See, there we go, that's that side, and I've already pressed this one in. It's a matter of just shoving it all out, and then you can work this whole piece out just like that. So let's clean the inside of that out as well. And here's the new primer bulb. Go put that back in the same way. You just join these 2 pieces together. And you slide those back in here where the clips will be exposed. And you carefully press this in. So those clips will be coming from the other side. Certainly careful not to puncture this new primer bulb. Almost there. And you should hear it click when it's in place. And there we go. We got a brand new primer bulb for the John Deere. And that retracts much better. You also will hear a click when these tabs are set in there, which is a good sign. So this is ready to go. And now we'll put a new air filter in here as well. I think this is the original air filter for this John Deere. Isn't that pretty? So it's a matter of putting this into the front that way. The fins go on the outside. Drop that in, and now we can just tighten the screw. And this John Deere will be all ready. And these are the parts I replaced. The primer bulb, which wasn't retracting anymore, with the original Briggs & Stratton engine part, air filter, as well as a new throttle cable. So let's give it a start. So here we go, we're going to test out the new primer bulb here. Oh, that feels much better. And let's see if this will start. It's been a while since we tried to start the John Deere. Let me refocus here. Here we go. Working throttle. Back and forth. It's been choked. There we go. Look at that. And that finishes the John Deere. It's got a new magneto in it. Bought this, it wasn't firing, so went through checking everything, make sure all the cutoff switches were not shorting out, and or the cutoff cable. Replaced the primer bulb, as well as the air filter, and a new throttle cable.